for everybody. And he saw mankind and said they need a Savior. And so he was willing. So in the book of Romans, chapter number 2, Paul, in chapters, the book of Acts, it describes the history of the church. We went over that 5 months, 4 months, and 9 months. Anyway, we went over it quite a bit. And Paul was headed to Rome to go to trial before Caesar. Right after he gets to Rome, he is released. Caesar says, I don't know why they brought you up here. I don't know why they arrested you. All you did was, you didn't do anything, so we're going to let you go. And in the next book, we see the book of Romans. Paul has been let gone of prison. He is gone. He's been, Caesar done said, you're gone. You're no longer shackled by soldiers. All right? You're no longer eating prison food. Go away. So Paul, just like every other preacher, will eventually start talking about Christ. Now, if you want to talk about cars, I'll talk about cars. You want to talk about money, making money, I'll talk about making money. But if you ask me about Christ, I'm going to talk to you about Christ. All right? And that's just you. You asking me. Paul, when the Jews got there, first thing he said is, I want to go to the church. I want to go to the church house. I want to go to the temple. And he gets there, and when he gets there, he asks the Jews, do you know why I'm here? Has anybody sent you a letter why I am here? And the Jews said no. So Paul begins to preach Christ. And this is the basic gospel. God sent his Son, Jesus Christ, to live as a virgin, to perform miracles, feed the hungry, make the blind to see, the lame to walk. He did a bunch of good stuff. To me, he's my hero. I mean, this guy, he made the first buffet. I mean, all the fish and bread you can eat. I mean, he made everybody sit down, and it was a buffet. And Ryan thought it was such a great idea, they took over the concept. But Christ came, and he came to do miracles. And he preached while he was preaching. And he was telling them, God sent me, and I am the Messiah. And most of the Jews did not believe that Jesus was the Messiah. Some did, some didn't. So when he's on the cross and he's being executed, and God said somebody has to die for the sins of man's sins, and he sent his Son, everybody left him, but there was a few that stayed behind, but the majority left. And when they left, he hung on the cross between two thieves. There was one on the right, one on the left. Now they're both cussing him out. And they're both saying the same thing. Listen, if you're really God, get us out of here. Alright? I mean, if you're really God, get us down. Which would seem like a reasonable request, except for one thing. You're a thief. I mean, if you're a thief and you're asking God to pardon you, I'd say, yeah, I'm God, I'm coming down, but you guys are going to have to die because y'all a bunch of sinners. Y'all going to die. But he didn't do that. He stayed on the cross. They stayed on the cross. They're cussing them back and forth. He's calling them names. They're calling them names. The religious people that are there, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they're all calling them names. They're wagging their heads. You know what a wag is? Sure. Yeah. Right. Superman, huh? Flew into your room. Right. Uh-huh. You were captured by aliens. Sure. Okay. I believe that. So they don't believe he's a Messiah. The thieves don't believe. Except the thief that was on the right, he finally believed. And in his heart he said, any man that can stand can be nailed to a cross. And he put his hand on the cross, put his feet on the cross, and acted like no other dying man. He didn't act like a dying man. He didn't cuss him back. He didn't tell him, I'll get you back. He didn't do like most of us that would say, you know what, I'm gonna get even with you. You watch, I'm gonna get even. He didn't do that. And so the thief on this side, he's been hearing about Jesus do all these miracles and all these things for 3.5 years now. That's how long the ministry of Christ was, by the way. Christ got Jesus ready for 30 years. After the 30 years, his ministry was 3.5. His cousin, John the Baptist, his ministry was less than a year. His whole life, he had 1 year. And then he died. I'm going to teach you. God said, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to help you. Sometimes God gives preachers long lives. Sometimes God gives preachers short lives. This man on the right finally looked at Christ and said, yeah, you know what? I ain't never seen anybody like this. He was in astonishment. God began to dwell in his heart. And he finally said these words. He said, Lord, he didn't say Jesus. Because this guy's cussing him out. And he said, would you shut up, you SOB? He said, would you please just shut up? This man ain't done nothing wrong. We deserve to die. Leave this guy alone. So finally, he said, Lord, first time, called him Lord. He said, Lord, would you just remember me? Just remember me. In other words, I'm probably going to have to go through hell on the other side. I'm probably going to have to be punished on the other side for everything I've done. I'm probably going to have to go through all these things on the other side when I die. Would you please just remember me? And Jesus looked over to him and said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Now, paradise sounds like a whole lot better than what some people in some religions preach, that you have to burn for a while, all the rest of your sins, burn candles, do whatever. No, he said today. He said today. Today. When? 1,000 years from now, after you suffer a while, I'll let you go. No, he said today. Today means today. And so he heard the word. Paul is telling the same story to the Roman church, to the Roman people. He went to the cathedral, which was a Jewish church. Some of the Jews said, you know what? I believe. I want Jesus Christ. I want him to be my Messiah. I want him to be my God. He died on the cross, rose from the dead. 3 days later, he got back up, walked around for about 40 days. He said, we believe the story. But just like every other church, and including this one, you're going to have two kinds of people that walk in the door. They're going to sit down, they're going to listen.